action.
What's up, people? How we doing, family? Today we have the honor and pleasure to be with none other than the apostle, mighty man of God, Jarvis L. Marshall from Spirit Life Ministry here in Auburndale, Florida. Also, we have Shakedown Radio host ourselves, Mr. KO6, in here with us today. And Brother Greg from Spirit Life Ministries as well. Hey, guys, today we want to chop it up and talk about some of the issues that we're seeing on social media and on the news media. It's affecting all the black communities across the land. I think we have some real serious issues here that and we can get ahead of it, because it won't be long before we see it spreading in our own backyards. And not only, I've been seeing several outlets mentioning, they understand why we're marching and the lack of having a plan on how we should strategize and move forward. If you guys will, man, let's just chime in and chop it up, man, and let's be a blessing to somebody.
Yeah, so number one, I think it's beyond just one issue. Mm-hmm. I think there's multiple issues that we're having in our community. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Not only with the police violence, but also with amongst our people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Why we're only protesting against police violence and not protesting against black on black violence.
Come on. That's
you know what I mean? Why we're only protesting against being oppressed by the white man, but we're not protesting being oppressed about each other. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That crab in a bucket situation.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if I believe this whole thing can be turned around, because we did have a historic point to where we had a prime example of it, of Black Wall Street, where we uplift each other, we supported each other, we purchased from each other, we policed each other. We didn't call anybody else in to police ourselves, we police ourselves.
Well, you know what? It's an old saying, I'm pretty sure everybody grandmother said that charity starts in the home that works itself abroad. Right. And I know in my hometown, Haines City, Florida, man, in the Oakland area, that type of charity, that type of community once did exist in our hometown. Right. Where, and I can say this is, I used to hear stories from my grandfather being a former businessman of that community as well. The black dollar stayed in the black community. Right. Now, a lot of people say, well, how did that tie? Well, that ties in because if we're dealing with the black dollar, our black economics, we're reinvesting our money in our community. Not only we're building up our community to keep a circulation job-wise, economic-wise. You dig what I'm saying? Well, we don't have to cross over.
Right.
It befuddles me how several black industries, let's deal with the hair industry for instance. The black hair industry was once dominated by the black dollar and black ownership, 97%. Today, we're less than 3%. If that, due to foreign advocates and crossing over. And we're talking about just black hair products, not the Sassoons and the Vita. We was talking about Gabbana Brothers and so forth. Right. These are the things that, our people, we need to start investing in, giving plans on how we execute, how do we move. I understand our emotions are tied in. We want to ride, we want our voices to be heard, but we have to construct our ways in a certain form where you're not just focusing on my lashing out, but you hear me and you see me trying to solve my issue. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's almost like when you look at investments, you'll see people now want to invest in Microsoft. They want to invest in Facebook. But when Facebook and Microsoft didn't have the platform that they have now, them same people wouldn't have taken a chance to invest in something that had not yet been established. And so the mentality that it seems like a lot of the black community has is we want to spend our money in stuff that we think is up there already. So you got Michael Kors and Gucci and all this stuff that we would spend money in, but a brother comes and say, I got a new pair of shoes, shoe line coming out, I want y'all to support my shoe line. I want them about them shoes, and about them shoes. Want to contribute to it at all. But you'll go spend $250 on some Gucci shoes or some Michael Kors shoes or something like that. And I didn't mean to call any names out on the air, but it's just that's what we do. We spend money in places like that.
Well, it's ironic. My nephew, he just started his own clothing line. Shout out De'Avion Jones, Player Circle. Circle, De'Avion James. Hey, but that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. We're not prime example, man. I mean, scene for Baby Boy, where Finn and Jody was getting into it.
Right.
And they say the difference between you young cats, you don't know how to separate butter from guns.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Butter, what we know is butter is all the flossing. The looking good, the high-priced tennis shoes and all that. That look fine for right then. You get a little attention. But later on down the line, when it's time to pay your light bill, what that do for you?
Nothing.
You feel what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The guns being the investments, stocks, bonds, understanding how the dollar works, currency, cryptocurrency, which is the latest thing. You know, you gotta know how things work in order for you to get in the game. And that's the thing I think why we come up so short. We're not learning the rules of the game, so we can't play the game. We want to play checkers, but we got to learn how to play chess.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying? What you got on that, Kate?
Listen, I get it. I think what it is the education in the home is not being taught anymore as when we were growing up. You know what I mean? We were taught the meaning of $1. We were taught the meaning of 50 cents.
Right.
We were taught of the meaning of a quarter.
A penny.
A penny. I mean, you gave us 5 cents. We thought it was the world because we were taught the value of that 5 cents and what it can do for us. And a lot of times when we grew up, we had somebody that was an entrepreneur that took that 20 cents or that $1 and bought other candy and went to school and hustled it because they understood.
That'd have been both of us, JD.
But we were taught the value of business at a young age.
Absolutely.
Right.
But we also understand that as we were growing up, there was a society saying, wait a minute, you know what I mean? You need to get the education for this from somewhere else, so you need to pay for this. It doesn't need to be taught in a home. Look, we're going to give you a whole certificate and put a letter on it, either an A or a B or an M, that you know business.
Right.
So you don't need to teach it in a home. Let us teach it to you.
Yeah.
Which is where you need it. I can say this, like, I was at the car detail place, vacuuming my car the other night. I got the car, the first thing I do, look at the ground. It may be a penny, it may be a quarter, it may be a dime.
Pick it up.
Right? Pick it up. So I looked on the ground, I saw a couple pennies. One little kid was like, "Mister, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm looking on the ground for some change." But it's just pennies. To him, it was just pennies.
Right.
I took those same pennies. I took them home. The next time I saw that little boy, I had a big jar full of pennies. Showed him those pennies, which was yesterday. He's like, "What are you going to do with all them pennies?" "I'm going to take them down to the bank, turn them in, and I'm going to find something to invest them in." I take every penny serious. I take a penny as serious as I do $1. And I think that a lot of times we don't value the small things. We look for the big stuff, and we don't value the small stuff. And that's even in our character and things that you're talking about, education, and making that an important piece of our family culture, rather than just going to school to get it. Because a lot of our successful black men and black women of the 60s and 70s and 80s, they didn't have a BA, they didn't have an AA, they didn't have none of that. They had third grade educations, sixth grade educations, but they were successful business people.
Some had a prison education.
Right.
Look at Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Totally turned his character around. And you know what? It's ironic you say that because in my industry, man, you know, the manufacturing industry, you know, paying attention to the small, intimate details always play a key role in the big picture.
Right.
Because, you know, you the end game is to make sure that everything leaves on the correct time, right product to satisfy the customer's order. But it's so many small compartments that make up that one goal to take place. So you have to pay attention to from point A to point B, to point C till you finish to have an end result.
Right.
What happens? And I think not only, you know, we don't know the value of $1 sometimes, so that's why we take it for granted. You know, it's just $1. But $1 is really not just $1 anymore. $1 is more like 65 cents versus when you and I was in coming up.
Yeah.
Because them same 50 cents, man, I can remember. I can go in the store, I can get one item for 50 cents, or I can go over there to the nickel and the penny and the dime section and get me several items.
And sell them for 3, 5.
So we learn how to stretch our commodity.
But we also had things in our history that shows the real value of a penny when the banks were stealing a penny
a day
from accounts. We thinking, oh, it's just a penny. But if I steal a penny from 1 billion people, a day,
Yeah.
just imagine what I come with within a month.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You know what I
adds
mean? I mean, it adds up. It really adds up. And I think we really have to now implement and show people how you educate your household.
Right.
I think that's what's missing.
Right.
And, you know, we're doing it by starting with us. And, you know, Jarvis doing it by his congregation and our congregation as well when we meet individuals on the street.
Absolutely.
Because there's several people that I'm running to on the street, and when God put it in me to have a conversation with them, you know, they feel that they run back into me. You changed my life.
Absolutely.
Because I never thought of it that way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm going to teach this to the
Right.
next person.
Right.
And we have to implement that now and stop allowing others, as in social media,
Right.
other society entity like the parenting group. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't realize the Looney Tunes got kicked off the air because of the parenting society,
Right.
because it was too violent. But now look what we got on TV.
Right.
It's even
Right.
worse.
It's-
Reality
right.
shows.
Right.
And see, the thing is too, with society, what they show on social media, what they show, even when they used to play music videos,
Right.
it was all, what can I buy right now to shine right now, instead of what can I put my money into to pretty much push my lineage so they don't have to struggle.
Right.
What am I planting in the ground? You got to think one seed will grow a tree, but from that tree you got multiple seeds. So if you take your one seed, your financial, and put it in a place where it can actually take root and grow, by the time it blossoms, you're going to have multiple places where you can pick, and now you got multiple seeds to keep planting.
Right.
That's investment.
I think one of the problems I look at from a pastoral standpoint and a social worker standpoint is when you look at the community, we are messed up in several different ways. It's not just one. There are some mental things that we got to deal with. There are some financial things we got to deal with, and all of it does come down to some education. But there are some emotional things that we got to deal with, and all this stuff is embedded. Like we all done talked about before,
Right.
from slavery time and different things that they did to cause us to have a certain mindset. But at the
Right.
end of the day, now what we have to do is, okay, that happened, but we got to find a way to educate in these different areas, to lift people up out of those places. To how can we convert their minds
Right.
to
What
see
that handbook looks like.
what that handbook looks like is what we need to find out really in order to make a difference. Because having conversations like this is good for the conversation, but in order to do something, we got to actually get out there, like we were talking about before. Faith without works, so we got to have some actions. But what action will work for these particular issues, and what action will work for these particular issues, or these particular? I can preach to the spirit all day long, but if a person got some emotional issues over there from some damaging stuff that happened in their youth, they need some counseling that's going to be beyond the pulpit of preaching. Vice versa, if you got people that are jobless and different things, we got to just figure out, like, what can we do, and what can we do in the different areas that people need help in our community.
And I think you touched on something real key right there. I know, especially dealing with a lot of people, when I say in this generation, meaning that 21, 22, 19, 17 age range, some of them have some unreal expectations. And what I mean about that, we're talking about timing.
Right.
You feel me? Because, we were groomed, just like you said, with investment. Eventually, it's going to come in the right season.
Right.
So they don't know how to wait and operate for a season. They want something instantaneously, like that microwave mentality.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying? And we know with the microwave mentality, it can happen, but it's not as good as something that we spent time prepping on the night before and cooking, and then it come out to the best effect. And that meal will last a lot longer with you. You dig what I'm saying? So I think that's what the reconditioning of the mind state. And how do we get there? Everybody's not going to be receptive to this mentality and moving on in the right direction. But we can't let it throw us off. We just got to keep moving because every ear ain't gonna hear.
Right.
That turkey and dressing TV dinner don't taste like grandma turkey and dressing.
No, it's never gonna taste like that, bro.
And speaking of that, if you get distracted, you're burning.
Right. Okay.
So therefore, you can't allow distractions to deter you on what your completion or what you're trying to prepare. You get what I'm saying? Because if you get distracted, you're gonna burn it. Because right now, with all this chaos and this rioting going on, it's a distraction for what the true cause is.
Right.
It's a distraction for why we protest and why they're out there protesting, why they marching for, and what they're trying to get the word out. Because right now, all you hear on the news is riot, 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 riot.
Absolutely.
But
You know what I mean?
if you think about this generation, the enemy is going to come for them real quick anyway because they're very boisterous. They have a mentality by any means necessary, but if they actually implement it in the right way, that mentality actually can shake the foundation to make something great happen. But it's just they have to be led in the right path.
Got it. Got it. You know, I've seen a lot of posts, and I've seen, a lot of people say we're to the point of by any means necessary. Well, if you're not willing to put the time in and the study to open up your mind, it's not by any means necessary.
Right.
It's by the way you want to move. You see, timing is everything. Time management. Here's the thing, man. There's a common commodity that every person in this world has an opportunity for on a daily basis, and it's time. We all got 24 hours, and what we do in those 24 hours depicts how good our outcome is going to be.
Right.
So if we're not pouring anything into those 24, we ain't going to get nothing out of them.
Right.
But if you're investing in yourself, you dig what I'm saying? I posted, I seen posts, I'm going to the gun shop, I'm doing this, I'm doing. Hey, listen, man, I get it, I understand that.
Right.
But let me say this: firearms, tactical weaponry, that's not the only thing you need to be arming. You need to be conditioning your mind.
Right.
Because this war, like I said, race wars, whatever they're preparing for, it's not just going to be physical. It's not. It's going to get to your finances, because if you burn it out all the
bills,
right? How you gonna pay your bills?
Right.
See,
How you gonna take care of your kids?
when you think about like the stuff that we're dealing with, right? And people talking about, well, we're gonna get the firearms, we're gonna get this, we're gonna do that.
Right.
All right. Most of us can't fish. Most of us can't hunt.
Right.
I'm one.
So we can't garden. We can't do any of that stuff. So we gonna do all this stuff, and but if we can't feed ourselves and provide ourselves,
You ain't conditioned.
we already conditioned to be in need of them anyway, which will put us right back into a Section 8 positioning. We might not have that mentality, but if they close down all the stores right now,
You stuck.
we stuck.
Look,
Versus our forefathers,
Right.
who were sharecroppers and hunters and man, look here, man.
That's why they
My
were
people
wealthy.
from Woodbury, Georgia.
Listen, this is why the older people had no problem with the pandemic shutting everything down.
Right.
Well, no
They
problem.
had no
issues.
Man.
at all, because they probably didn't have a field, but they were already growing stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
They already were doing things already, prepared for a situation like that.
Right.
Because they've been through it before.
Right.
This ain't the first time. They've been through it before.
Man, when we talking about been through, man, we talking about my granddaddy, man. Lord rest his soul, man. Great Depression, World War I, World War III,
Right.
so on. I can keep naming it. You dig what I'm saying? And these people, man, this generation came up to at a point, man. If the only time I heard my grandma say this, man, the only time they went to the store when it was something they couldn't grow, or something they couldn't make.
Right.
Absolutely. Now,
But that's where the wealth came in.
Right.
That's why
That's
they were
it.
able to stack up their money, because they didn't depend on the stores like nowadays
depend-
generation. They depend on everything.
Man, look here. When
Is it
Walmart,
dependent or feeling privileged?
hey, when Walmart shelf was empty, boy, you should see it. Oh man, they ain't got no toilet paper. Man, going way Osceola County, Orange County, and then they got a limit on it. Now,
Right.
see, that's another conversation.
Don't have my daddy no toilet paper. Well, let me show you what we did in the war. Let me show you what we did in the
Go
jungle.
get in the water.
I used to say, Pops,
Take a
why you
shower.
got all these banana leaves around here.
Yeah.
Why all these banana leaves?
orange
Boy,
peels.
Oh yeah. Newspaper.
Well, let me show you.
But I feel what you're saying. You know, we've been so conditioned by, you know, our now society.
Yeah.
If we really was to, you know, I hear them talking, but they're not really ready for it.
No, they're not ready.
Economically, you know, spiritually, physically, mentally.
None of that.
You know, no survival skill whatsoever.
Right.
So I think, you know, our leaders, our voices need to be need to be heard a lot louder, so we can condition some of these movements, condition some of these people, man. Hey, man, and you know what? And it's something you said, me, bro. That clip with R.A. Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those of you out there that don't know who R.A. Vernon is, he's one of the outstanding, you know, church pastors that's out there. And, man, basically, you know, I'm just going to paraphrase. He was saying, man, you know, it's beyond him being a pastor right now. He's looking at this, you know, for what it truly is. Mm-hmm. And he's not afraid to speak out about it. And also put the ownership on the fellow policemen that were present. Mm-hmm. And those who weren't present. Because, you know, I'm like this too, man. You know, me as a black man, I don't care if, you know, I'm wearing a badge or not. If I witness or I hear about something that ain't right in my department, man, we got to check that.
Right.
You feel me?
Right.
We got to check that. I mean, because, you know, who's to say next time it may be my son?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Could be one of us.
Yeah, it could be me or my nephew. You dig what I'm saying? So you just can't make a little noise. You got to be ready to stand. Right. Now, here's the thing. I hear a lot of people talking. But when it comes time to stand up, who going to stand?
See, that's the thing, though. A lot of people are afraid to stand for something because they feel it's going to eliminate their livelihood.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But if you can't stand for nothing, what do you have?
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying? Because Jesus stand for everything, and he didn't even care what came at him.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But if I can't stand up for nothing, if I can't stand and speak my voice and how I feel about a situation, hence why I created this podcast to help other people and other podcasters to be able to lift your voice, stand for something, and let's get together and put stuff into action.
Right. It's something that you said earlier, the education, financial independence, all this stuff is stuff that we need. And when we don't have it, it makes it difficult for people to stand.
Right.
'Cause like you say, they don't want to lose that. But in the 1920s, my grandma was born in 1920 when the Great Depression came. My grandma said she didn't even know it was a Great Depression.
Nah.
None of the blacks knew it was a Great Depression because they were able to sharecrop. They were able to make their own clothes. They were able to take preserves and preserve everything. So throughout the whole Depression, they didn't feel it.
No.
Now, the slave owners felt it.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Plantation owners, I mean, because slavery went in.
I got a question.
Slave owner.
Now, I can recall being a child and Sunday dinner didn't get all devoured. Grandma packing it up and freezing that up for a rainy day.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when the money get low, like you say,
Pull it out the
you never
freezer.
knew because pulling out
Mason
the freezer.
jars.
We got a full deal.
All that.
But, you know, the tactics like this and things like this, you know, knowing how to get the most out of your dollar.
Right.
Knowing how to invest. You feel me? These are lessons that are not being taught in the home or duplicated anymore. But you're on the other side of the tracks. This is a way of life.
But you got to think, too, what's going on. You got babies having babies.
I hear that.
That's
but
always.
I think it's diminishing a little bit.
But here's the thing. I'm going to say this. I'm going to speak to that. Because I was 19 when I had my son. 19 when I had my oldest son. He's 25 now. And I pour into him every chance I get since then and still now. And he a grown man. He be like, Dad, you know, I got it. You feel me? But what I'm saying, I said all that to say this. I came up under a different type of upbringing.
Right.
And, you know, my mom made sure, even though I was her only child, she made sure I was a man.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying? Now what we see happening, we see mothers, instead of building the king and making him a man, they're
Diminishing that.
Right.
The shell kind of
and he
taking away the
becomes
masculinity.
dependent.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So when the time comes for him to actually be a man, he don't know how to.
Mama becomes the wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You
the
better
son
say it.
becomes
I
the
never
husband.
You better say it.
understood
You better say it.
that
And
saying.
that's the major problem in our community right now.
Right. I never understood that saying where it said babies having babies. Because what I know, my grandmother and my great-grandmother had their first child when they were 17, 16 years old.
And married.
Raising them.
And married.
And married.
The reason I say babies having it's the mentality of the person.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's not the age limit, but you got to think you was raised up under a more southern type living to stand up and be a man. Like when the father isn't present, and then you have the mother, she still want to live like, I'm too young, let me go hang out. Where's the baby? The father, he ain't there, the mom ain't there. So it's like, now the baby trying to figure out, well, who am I? But then when the mom come back in, instead of her pretty much saying, sit down, let me teach you, no, come party with me. So now you got a generation that's going to be lost.
That makes sense.
And then if the father really steps in place, like the Bible say, it's like arrows in the quiver. So you have to look at the father like, okay, I'm going to pull you back, I'm going to aim you where you got to go, and I'm going to shoot you in that direction. But if he's not there, how can they go?
I think a lot of stuff have to do with mindsets that occur in different generations,
Right.
and different cultures at different times. At one time, it was like, well, I ain't gonna raise my kid the way we was raised.
Right,
I ain't gonna whip him. I ain't gonna do
I
this.
think we all said something.
We said something that until we realized we needed it.
Right.
They needed it.
You gonna get what I got.
Man, let me give a little short testimony on that, man. I can recall my mom's funeral, and my mom, you know, I was one of those, I ain't gonna treat my kids like this, I ain't gonna. But all those things my mom would say to me, I found myself saying that to my own kids.
Right.
And that was my, you know, that's what I shared. And my kids like, yeah, my daddy. I mean, what's in you, what's instilled in you, it's going to come out.
Right.
Especially when it's good. Whether it's good or bad, it's still going to come out.
Right.
But the thing about it, we've got to be able to put ourselves in a position and pass on those things that are going to be supplemental
Right.
for the next generation. And that's the thing that I see that's lacking right now.
Question: how do we get them to hear? Because a lot of times I was telling you how I went to the barbershop, and you down there and you're trying to, you know, talk to some of the young men and instill the stuff that we learned from other young men that taught us at the barbershop. And when you start talking to these young men, they're cursing you out. Oh, that's old school. They don't want to hear it. We were more respectable and more receptive because we were taught to listen anyway. You know, and then when you listen, even if you didn't accept it, it was still there. But you can't even get some of these. How do we get them to listen?
You know what I've learned, man, and I'm gonna show you what I deal with on the job. And I'm old school.
Yeah.
So I have my way of going about handling the situation on the floors, which I seen, you know, I created some hostile situations by having that tactic. So it caused me to step back and reevaluate. And what I've learned, especially dealing with this generation, they move off results.
Right.
So
Gotcha.
you got to use a little reverse psychology. You feel me?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make you think it's your idea, but the whole time I'm pulling the strings.
Yeah.
Right.
Puppet master.
You feel
Sound
me?
like some devil.
So here's the thing. So I mean, you what you do. I mean, for instance, you speak there. Hey, man, look. Remember when you was telling me such and such? I think what you had said, even though you know he ain't said, but we're gonna make it seem like that.
Yeah.
And they move off results, man.
Right.
Like I said, they don't understand what it means to put in the work or wait for a season to come for it to move abroad. They want something instant.
Right.
So they gotta see some type of results also. So that's how you get to persuade them to come in over your way. Then once you say, hey man, I see what you know what you're talking about. So what did I do to get to the next level? Well, you want to get to the next level? Let's do it this way. You feel me? So that's what we got to do, you know, to get their attention, to get them to hear, to get them to understand. And believe it or not, there are some individuals who are looking just for someone to spend some attention with them. Because like you said, they come from that home set with mama hanging out, pops ain't been around, and they just need a little direction, and they're yearning from that. I did a little juvenile corrections for a while as well, and you know, I also did a little counseling while I was there, and that was one of the main things that the youth voiced out.
Right.
They didn't have anyone to show them their attention, spend that time, give them
They need
guidance.
some structure.
Yeah, without anything without structure. It's no good. That was the whole scene of the garden. You dig what I'm talking about? Structure. You gotta have that.
And believe it or not, a lot of them look for that structure.
Oh yeah.
I got involved. I've been divorced for a while now, and I got involved with a lady that had a son. And before it was just mom there, mom doing the nurturing thing. And when I show up and she do it, whoa. We ain't doing that.
Right.
We ain't doing that. Boy, shake it off. Stand up.
Absolutely.
Right.
All right, get yourself together. Now, what's the problem? We ain't doing this wine and stuff.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
come on out here with me. Let me show you something.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he literally, when he found out I was leaving, he literally came and said, but who's going to be my dad now?
Wow.
Who's going to be that? I don't know. When you came, I feel better in school.
Yeah.
Like he can face certain
Yeah.
situations in school now.
Yeah. Yeah.
He can face certain individuals in school now.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have that constant nurturing.
Right.
That, it'll be all right. Don't worry about it. Sometimes you got to just pull that Band-Aid off and let it heal on its
Most
own.
definitely.
Right.
To a point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't keep putting a Band-Aid on it every
Yeah.
time, putting more Band-Aids
Gotta
and
let some
more
air get to
Band-Aids
it.
on it. It ain't going to never heal.
Right.
Yeah. So, question here for the panel, man. So, how do we get our local law enforcement to accept their accountability for when the misconduct of law enforcement goes out? How do we do that in the correct form? We don't want to riot. We're just giving out some ideas. We don't want to riot. We don't want to create chaos, but we do want to hold them accountable.
Yeah. I think at least here in Polk County, a lot of people talk a lot about old Judd.
Hey, man.
But
I heard that name before and I ain't here.
But he's actually a pretty fair dude.
Right.
The guy said hey, what about your nephew? Hey, he did the crime. He got to do the time.
Right.
And he's always coming around.
And actually, I didn't mean to cut you
Yeah,
off.
go ahead.
I posted one of his comments on the situation, and he was like, "Hey, man, that
That
can't
was dead
happen.
wrong. It can't happen
Right.
here.
That can't
He would have
happen
been in prison jail
Yeah,
right now.
that can't happen here."
Yeah.
And you know what? And I'm like you on this.
Yeah.
I don't agree with everything he does
Right.
and everything he said, but
Right.
for the most part of
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
he's fair.
Yeah.
Now, I think some of his deputies that they have employed need to be reevaluated.
Absolutely.
Because now we got a lot of young people in law enforcement,
Young.
and trying to move up the ranks.
Yeah.
So they're
Right.
trying to make a
Gung-ho.
name for themselves.
We older than half.
the thing.
You feel me? Yeah, they're
thing
trying
is-
to make a name for it. Personally, I had altercation myself when I, a couple years ago, working
Yeah.
for 100 Building Products.
Yeah.
My car fitted the description of a vehicle they were looking for, and I pulled over, man. I look back, man, my rear view mirror, it's like 9 of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, man, what's going on?
Yeah.
And he's like, look, man, car out, we got it just like yours, tinted windows. You mind if we search the car? Hey, man, I'm just getting off work. Search the car. Officer opened up my back seat. This is a true story. Officer opened up my back seat, seen I had a stack of books on my back seat that I read on break. He said, man, this ain't him.
But you see, one of the things that you did, it's like what we was talking about last night, having the balance of knowing
Exactly.
when to stand up for your
Right.
rights and when to just be like, you know what, man,
Right.
just go ahead and search
Yeah,
the car.
yeah, yeah.
Most of the time,
Combative.
Yeah,
Right.
we become very combative, and I know my rights, and you ain't gonna do this. Da, 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 da.
Right.
Create a hostile
Quick,
situation.
and now you gotta deal with this. I remember getting stopped for a tag light, and I was going to share this video this morning. It's amazing that this came up in this conversation. Got stopped for a tag light. I'm coming from church. Snatch me out the car. Well, get out the car. Get out the car. Snatch me around, pull me around, slam me on the hood of the car, right, for a tag light. The only thing I feel like saved my life was I did what you did. I wasn't combative. I didn't try to move around or what you stopping me for, why you arresting me. Arrest me, take me to jail. Let me live to get to the jailhouse.
Right,
Once
right.
I get to
And
the
fight a
jail,
good
I'll
battle.
fight a good battle there.
Right.
But for a tag like me, I'm not going to lose my life for that.
Right.
And I think we just got to reevaluate, teach our young kids, especially the young men,
Right.
when you
Proper
come into get a
way.
proper way to deal with these officers,
Right.
and have meetings with them. Like I've had meetings here with the sheriff department, with the Auburndale Police Department, and I've had some of the Auburndale Police Department, come in and tell me, listen, every police officer is not good.
Right.
Everyone is not bad. But these are some of the ways you can handle yourself that if you meet me or maybe someone that may not be like me, you'll have a better chance of
Right.
getting yourself out of these situations. So
We just
and-
get them to introduce that to a larger forum
Yeah.
than just a small group of
The
people.
thing too,
Absolutely.
like being in law enforcement myself,
yeah.
that's one thing that they need to learn. You got an officer already. He's in a heightened state, coming up to your vehicle, whether it's day or night. In his mindset,
Adrenaline.
I'm going home to my family. If you flinch wrong, I'm reacting.
Right.
So with us staying calm, let them do their job.
Yeah.
Don't argue if you feel like you're wrong. Like you just said, you had a meeting. Go that route. You just like you say, you have to get the education mentally to know whatever I do, I want to make it home. So after all this over, let me collect myself. Let me get everything together, paperwork or whatever it may be. That way I can take it and present it the right way.
Yeah.
But if you present anger and frustration,
Great points, guys. But let me say this: what about the other side of the coin? To those individuals who say, "Why should I have to teach my black son this? The white kids don't have to do this. Some of the Hispanic kids don't have to do this. Why should I have to do this?" And I'm gonna let you guys answer. I'm just gonna throw mine out there. I agree, but we know everything ain't fair.
right?
What's important to me is what you just said. You said you, as an officer, you're going to do whatever it takes to get home to your family. And I think giving our kids these tactics to survive, give them something that can bring them back home.
Right.
And then I'm only a phone call away.
Absolutely.
And and my mom always told me, man, I'm your mother. Let me fight your battle.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I love that.
Even to those 22, 25-year-olds. Hey, man, call your parents, call your guardians, call someone who's not in the situation. Just, go along with whatever's going on.
Right.
And then, like you say, we can handle this outside of the situation that's at hand. Because the danger zone is right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I know something about writing a report, from being a former correction officer.
Right.
That report going to say whatever we need to say
Yep.
to justify our action.
Right. Most definitely.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though it may not be what took place, but when we put it on paper, that's what happened.
Right.
That's
And
that's the law of any industry, though.
Come on.
Whatever industry you work for, if you're doing a report, your report is going to be written to justify what you
your
did.
actions,
Right.
and it's going to stand up. You dig what I'm saying? So whatever you need to do to get out of that situation, to get back home,
Right.
be non-combative,
Right.
yes sir, no sir, I have nothing to say, I plead the fifth, do that.
And I will say this: as a human being, as a person, you're angry,
Come on.
you're frustrated, you want to hurt somebody,
Right.
you're full of tears and rage.
Right.
I was all that night. I was a federal employee. I was a pastor, a husband, all this. But
Community leader.
community leader. But at that time, I felt all the things that everybody else I know they feel. But just like you said, I had to get home.
Right.
And it's being I had to get home. I couldn't look at it. Well, why should I have to go through this? It's not fair. But until we can, like what we're doing now with this podcast and the stuff we're talking about getting together, until we can get our communities into a place where we police ourselves, where we have our own, then we don't have to worry about all that as much.
As much.
Yeah.
Because you still got some of
Yeah,
us
yeah, yeah.
that-
And that's just the first. The next step I suggest for all our black families is learn legislation.
Right.
Absolutely.
You can't operate if you don't know your rights.
Right.
What you got. You
Yeah.
dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See, a lot of people don't understand. They hear stories about the Panthers.
Yeah.
Especially
Oh, but they knew.
But hold on. Yeah, but see,
Go ahead.
Huey was a different brother. He was combative, but the brother knew his stuff.
That's why they're gonna do nothing to him.
I mean, they don't give doctors away. The brother had a doctor. You dig what I'm saying? So in that itself, he was an enemy.
Right.
Right.
That's why they had to disband them, brother. We couldn't infiltrate them like they did the Societies.
Right.
but
ain't gonna get all that today.
they had to break them brothers up. You dig what I'm saying? And those are the type of weapons we need to be equipping ourselves with.
Right.
Not just the physical handguns and so forth, but the mental side.
Right.
Yeah, they misquoted
How to handle
Malcolm X.
situations. You dig what I'm
That's
saying?
what that is.
Yeah,
They
that's what we
misquoted
need to be
Malcolm
equipping
X.
ourselves.
Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, Malcolm X, even though he said any means necessary, but his thing was strategizing.
Of course.
His thing
what I
was
was
you
trying to get to.
planned it out. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No,
finish.
no. Just pause right there.
Yeah.
Now, last night, real quick, And then I want you to say this little piece and you jump right back in.
Yeah.
You talked about turning the other cheek. Go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, when I was doing my study a couple of years ago, and I was reading and studying about the scripture where it says turn the other cheek. Mm-hmm. And most time we preach it or you hear people talk about it, well, if slap you on the right cheek, turn and give them the left cheek. And when I researched that, it simply meant to respond rather than react.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Go.
Right.
Malcolm X.
And Malcolm X's strategy was when they react towards you, there's a certain way that you want to respond, but respond without, his thing was, we ain't backing down. We're just going to respond differently than you responded. And understand, you got guns, we got guns bared in our own right by the legislation, by our Fourth Amendment rights. We can have what you got as well.
Right.
But we're going to respond in the right way. We just going to let you know you ain't going to just come and try to control and take over what we're trying to introduce to our people.
Absolutely.
Now, let me give you my layout for doing it that way. Now, we've heard that scripture numerous amount of times, turn the other cheek, and a lot of people are just being passive, accepting the lick. And our reason why, because we know Malcolm X is one of the iconic figures that we use for self-defense and standing up for ourselves. And what we simply heard, Jim, is how he applied the strategy of turning the other cheek, not just being reactive, but responding in a different order in order to get the right result. Right. That's what we need in our community.
Exactly.
Those are the type of lessons. Hey, we get it. We're going to take one. We play football.
Exactly.
Play football. You dig what I'm saying? And I can tell you, man, numerous amount of time. Won a game within, 14 seconds?
14 seconds.
Should have lost.
Yeah.
Right.
14 seconds on clock.
Lost.
They
14
killed us.
seconds. Won the game. And if we had not stuck to what the game plan was, what we had been conditioned for, what we had been learning, we wouldn't have made it. That wouldn't have been a victory.
The word condition. That's a powerful word, man. We have to be conditioned and we have to be reconditioned, deprogrammed. We got a lot of stuff that got to go on. And you talked about that last night too.
Yeah.
About the deprogramming and the reconditioning.
You have to deprogram and recondition no matter what you do. And here's what I realize of studies and even getting studies in. It takes longer to program yourself to get something than it does to deprogram.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? I can, once I grasp this, I apologize, I reword that. It takes longer to deprogram yourself than to program yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can pick something up easily and, okay, this is the way it's done. And then let's say you take that method and you go to another job and you're doing it, this is the way it's done, this is the way I taught myself. But no, that ain't the way we want to do it. We need you to do it this way. But this is the way I know. You'll fight against that for a long time before you start grasping that way. You get what I'm saying?
Man, I'm going to share this story, man. Production manager for CTDI, Davenport, Florida. And they came out with a new process on how they wanted us to handle the pack outline. And they want to do it one touch. One person going to do this and pass this on, and bam. I'm like, that don't make sense, man. I could do that. I could do that same process with less guy and get you way more than what you're asking for an hour. I could do that. Me and the ops manager at that time, Bill Moore, we face to face. Now, I'm just a production manager. Me and the ops manager like this, and we going at it. Came back to me later, laughed about it, apologized. He said, but man, his whole thing was, he didn't care about how many more that team could produce an hour by doing it the other way.
Right.
We had a process that needed to be followed, that we signed off that we're going to do it this way. And if we follow this process, we're likely to have less mess-ups, less errors. And, and then on top of it, that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, right.
Long story short, sometimes, we want to take the shortcut instead of following the process.
Right.
If you stick to the process, not only is your results going to be proven, they'll be consistent.
Right.
You feel me? Because here's the thing about doing it your own way and taking a shortcut. There's no consistency.
Right.
And there's no consistency, there's no accountability.
No.
So that's the whole lesson. By following the process, man, you not only you stay consistent, but you have accountability as
Right.
well.
Whew.
It's good
Boy.
stuff, man. Good stuff. I'll say this, and I'll be pretty much what you said, just to go on with that. I've been at this job for like 26 years.
Right.
So when I started, we didn't have like the internet and all the network and stuff. We had to take files and fill them out by hand, put them in the mail them up to the disability office. They make that decision, they mail them back. We got to mail them to the program service center,
Right.
and they got to process the payments and send the checks out. So when they get the computers and the internet, you upload everything, they get it. For me, it was difficult. As fast as it was for the internet, for me it was just like, man, every time I got a folder, I'm putting it in the paper file, mailing it up,
Program.
and when I get to the mail room, it's like,
Right.
Ain't gotta do this.
I gotta do this.
You can't deprogram that out.
It took months
Yes.
for me to get out of that framework of doing it, because I had been doing it that
You've
way
been
for years. I was
conditioned.
conditioned, and now I gotta be deprogrammed and reconditioned, and that's what messed me up.
So, real quick, man, we gonna wrap this up real quick. Brother Greg, what you got going on? Let's talk to us real quick about your organization.
Well, as of May 1st, I started a mentorship for young men and young adults also who are fatherless, to pretty much take them from focusing on what society shows them in the streets, being wrapped up with the wrong people, but actually taking them back outside, being young men, showing them life traits, showing them how to fish, hunt, do gardening work, fix on cars, pretty much everything outdoors that a man should know that they may have missed with the father figure not being there. And I ain't knocking the city people that's on the concrete jungle, but it's a lot of stuff they don't know because we country boys. The country boys, we'll get out there and fish, get dirty, dig holes. I grew up doing all that stuff, and it's life traits that it makes a big difference when you have a family that you can do that, because just like we was talking earlier, if the economy crash, my family, everybody connected to me, we gonna eat.
Yeah.
We're going to be
Right.
straight because I'm going to hunt, I'm going to fish, we're going to garden.
Right.
And it's just that simple. It's stuff that I think every man should know that I'm trying to actually offer to them at a young age. Mm-hmm. That way we don't have to try to deprogram them from something of pretty much sitting in the house having it microwave fed to them, but they can actually get out and provide. So it's called Fishers of Life.
Love it.
And then I'm going to push Christ too, but I ain't going to preach. It's just I'm going to implement it.
Demonstration.
Yeah,
Right.
demonstration
Right.
is a form of preaching anyway.
Yeah,
So
right.
don't think it's all words.
Right.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
You know what I mean?
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Pastor Jarvis,
Yes,
Spirit
sir.
Life. Come on, talk to us. What we got going on in the
Hey.
upcoming future?
Spirit Life is actually implementing his program into our system, where we're going to be bringing the men and women together to teach them these type of strategies, because the time that we live in shows that there may be a possibility that we need these type of skills. At the same time, we're connecting with different educational schools and to get people educated on certain things that they would need to survive and to help their families. We have a mentoring and development program through the youth pastor, where he's working with the youth at the high school here and the middle school. So we got a lot of different things that are going on, but my main focus right now is just trying to make sure that we instill into every individual that we can, inside the walls and outside the walls, the necessary tools that they need spiritually, educationally, mentally, emotionally, that they can be a whole person, and that we can actually demonstrate the kingdom of God. And because most people talk about they're building the kingdom, and you're building the kingdom, you can't build God's
It's already
kingdom. Is
built.
already built, it's already established.
You
So
gotta learn how to operate.
we just got to operate it, and that's my whole focus right now, is just getting people to operate in another level of thinking, which is kingdom, rather than just trying to do church stuff.
Right.
Love it.
Yeah.
Shakedown Radio, Mr. Self.
Shakedown.
K6. Talk to us, man. What y'all got
Listen,
coming
man,
up early?
Shakedown is still, a lot of the stuff that we deal with was based, with, venues and stuff like that. We're coming back. We got a new venue that's a little closer, kind of in between, located off International Drive in Sand Lake. Can't give the name out just yet. where we're going to still allow people to come out to express their talent with singing, comedy, poetry, like we've been doing with our R&B and poetry and comedy night, which we don't charge anybody to perform. All you got to do is just register, call us, put your name on the list, and then we just hold you to paying, coming in the door. There's a door fee. Everybody pays a door fee. You know what I mean? Just to come in. But as long as your name's on the list, you can actually perform. Plus, we also working on some other things to do, car wash for the community, and I'm working on coming up for the summer. I'm working on going to different areas and doing a movie night. I purchased a huge projector and a screen and bought 2 major speakers to where I want to do movie night outside.
Okay.
For the kids. I want to do a throwback.
Okay.
Because this is something that I saw and I've been experiencing in other communities. And I said, why can we not have that in our community?
Right.
Love it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I am going to get with you guys and find some areas that we can sit down and I pull the permit and just have a PG or G movie night for everybody. All families come, sit down, and enjoy a movie and some free popcorn.
Can I one more thing?
Go ahead, man.
We're having here in this building. Actually, we have a young African American male who is getting ready to start up his own school.
Okay.
And he's going to use this building to start up his school. So it's going to be. I think he said it's going to be K through 5.
Okay.
And then he's going to try to build it up from there. So we're going to be doing that. We got a LEC after school tutorial program as well that my wife and some of the teachers here have put together. It's free tutorial for the kids in the community. So we're trying to get transportation now where we can go and bus them, where they can come from the Boys and Girls Club, or they can come from the communities. They got a project right up the street. Bring them here, let them go through all the tutorial programs that they need,
Right.
and then take them back home with a meal or something after that. So we're trying to do that as well.
That's what's up. Shakedown Radio, Fishers
Fishes of Life.
of Life, Spirit Life Ministry, expanded territories. Be looking on the outlook for some projects from all 4 of us intertwined, man. Because the key is to build a kingdom.
Yes.
Reinstate our kings and queens where we should be.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Take over our communities. And we're going to close this thing out. Everybody out there, just remember, iron sharpens iron. Peace.